All right, so in this video, I'm just responding to the whole Liver King quote unquote controversy that is going on right now, which to me doesn't really strike me as a controversy. And I wanted to do it shirtless and while doing some red light first thing in the morning, just to really align with the irony of the whole situation and also practice some of his ancestral tenets. So please enjoy the weird lighting and me being shirtless and trying to look as swole as possible. So basically, if you're not familiar with the Liver King, I highly recommend just doing a quick YouTube search or Google, and you'll see this guy. You'll see what I'm talking about. And if you're been spent any time on social media, I'm sure you've already seen who this guy is. But anyone with half of a brain could have looked at this guy and realized he was definitely on gear or junk or steroids. Like, typically people don't look the way he does consistently over such a long period of time without doing those things. And honestly, I'm not surprised. I don't think anyone else, a lot of other people are not surprised that these emails have come out more or less confirming the fact that he is, or at least was, on a lot of gear, which to me, I don't really care about because I'm not in that fitness world. And to me, I'm really kind of bothered by it because not that I'm a fan of the guy, but most of the rest of what he says is actually quite fairly solid advice, recommending people moving their body, trying to adapt to the stressors of modern life and eating better food, moving their bodies, just fairly basic things. So it's just really unfortunate that for whatever reason, this big lie, like this blatant, huge, tremendous lie, is like possibly negating all of the other fairly positive things that he's been saying. Because when I first saw him, I thought, okay, this is just kind of like a silly gimmick. I see why he's doing it, just to get clicks on social media and whatever. Kind of just discounted it as just that. And then eventually started watching some of his podcasts and longer form interviews and seeing that, yeah, he's actually a fairly intelligent guy who really cares about his family, seems very down to earth, seems very genuine, and what he's recommending for people is pretty useful, I think, in a lot of situations. And the problems that he's addressing in terms of the things people are dealing with, and how a lot of people are committing suicide, and a lot of people are really lost and feel helpless in their life and have a lot of health problems, and how living more ancestral can solve a lot of those things. It's like, okay, fine, those are all legitimate things. So I just kind of shifted from like, okay, it's just a gimmick, to just seems to be a fairly genuine, really family oriented guy that is just doing this gimmick online for whatever reason. But then now his the lie is obviously out and confirmed, and it's more or less double confirmed by his response, in that it was a more or less a complete deflection, because basically all these emails leaked, which showed conversations and him saying that he spends like $15,000 a month on all these different steroids and whatever. And then in addition to all a bunch of other supplements and stuff that he takes that he never shows publicly, never talks about publicly, and is kind of slightly contradictory to, his message, right? So his response was basically a deflection, which was like, it's a complicated AF subject, which I mean, it isn't. It's like, if you say you're not doing steroids, but you are, that's really not that complicated. It's pretty straightforward. And then he just kind of flipped it to like how people are suffering and people are in pain and there's all these problems in the world, which is true, and how if they live ancestrally, it will help them, which might be true, and then how it's his fight. So he kind of somehow deflected it and also somewhat tried to position himself as kind of a victim and a bit of a savior. It's like, don't look over here at the blatant lie, but look over here at this painful truth about reality, which is obviously true. I mean, people are suffering, people have a lot of health problems, etc. But it doesn't discount the huge lie and the point of the subject, which is like, you don't look like you're natural. You look like you're on steroids. For years, you've been blatantly lying, saying you're not on steroids, and then now it's pretty much confirmed that you are. But another thing that I'll share that I noticed when people would ask him was he would always differentiate between Brian Johnson, which is his name, and Liver King. So I think when I would hear him say that, I was thinking to myself, that's probably how he's mentally justifying the lie, in that Liver King is this third party other character that he developed So he's like, oh yeah, Liver King, the character, never did steroids, but Brian Johnson did lots of them and has done lots of them. Which I don't know if that's exactly his strategy. I just noticed it in a couple of interviews where people were asking him straight up if he was on gear, or if he was natural or not, and that was his response. And that kind of made me think, that's a bit of an interesting distinction. But I haven't watched enough podcasts and content to like fully analyze it to see if that's his go-to kind of justification or lie. Because, I think the sad part about this is obviously, yeah, the guy's lying and somewhat deceiving people and giving people kind of a false perception of reality. But like I said, at the same time, a lot of everything else that he's saying is fairly true and useful and helpful, and his supplements are of a good quality as well. And, he's pulling in $100 million a year. So it's like, obviously, he's doing something right. It's just sad that so many people are probably going to just completely, trash him and trash his character and trash his business and just kind of completely, take a take a dump on him, which is for whatever reason people love to do it. People love to expose and dox and data leak and just take down people. People love the drama, which I don't think is particularly helpful or useful. And yeah, I think it's really, I've said this in videos in the past, where it's really easy for someone with no skin in the game, no real investment, no real skin in the game, I guess is the best way to put it, to like sit back and pass these massive moral judgments and like shit on someone from a distance. But really, if they were under the same set of circumstances, faced with the same set of choices and the same set of consequences, what's to say that they wouldn't make the same choices? And I'm not justifying, lying or whatever. I'm just maybe trying to like ease people back from just character assassination and completely shitting on someone, which is what happens on the internet if you look at the comments on any of these videos. Because the thing is, when people lie and people do things like that, they don't think in their head that they're going to get caught. They're only doing it because they feel that there's an extremely high probability that they will get away with it. And the thing is, we're all human. We've all lied and we've all done things to varying degrees. And in our mind, we always usually do it because we think we can get away with it. And we think there's a high probability that no one will find out. And maybe they never will, but maybe they will. In this case, obviously people did. And it just really kind of an awkward situation that didn't just seemed unnecessary. But I guess at the same time, if you're pushing ancestral tenets and all these supplements in this lifestyle, but you're also taking steroids, people are going to probably not buy into your message and buy into your brand and buy into your product. Because, yeah. So anyways, that's my thoughts on it. I'm not really surprised in any way, shape, or form. I felt that the dude was lying from the beginning. I was just kind of confused by that. But, when there's $100 million per year to be made, I guess, you know, we all might, we all might turn ourselves into a caricature as well. So anyways, that's my thoughts on the subject, and I'll talk to you soon.